Hi everyone, I hope you are all well, and I'll say straight off, Merry Christmas! I'm most likely not going to be able to do another video before Christmas Day, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to say Merry Christmas to anyone who's watching this, to my subscribers, everyone. Have a great Christmas. I have now finished work for Christmas. I am so happy. Friday was my first day off my leave. I went to see Cats in the cinema. I absolutely loved it, but given that I absolutely adore this theatre show, which I've loved it for over 2 decades, and you know how I reacted to the Cats trailer. You know how much I loved it. I knew I was going to love it, so I just went and I absolutely adored it. I'm not going to make a separate video about that because I'll just be sat there gushing, going, "Yes, I know there's XYZ faults, but I don't care. I still love it." So to make sure I don't bore you with that, I'm not going to make a video. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the book I've been reading for the past couple of weeks, and that is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Now, many of you probably know from watching previous videos, I love Charles Dickens. I have loved his works for, oh God, so long I can't actually remember. And surprisingly, A Tale of Two Cities is one of his books that I have never read. There are others that I've never read, but they're kind of some smaller ones, not smaller, but more obscure ones, which I haven't read because I just haven't had the interest, the want to, you know, try it out. And Tale of Two Cities had actually fallen into that category in my mind, and what kind of triggered me to buy it in a sense was, well, first of all, about a year or more ago, I went to see a theatre production of A Tale of Two Cities, and I absolutely loved it. I thought the way the set design, the way they moved through it told the story. It was beautifully put together. It was really, really great UK tour of Tale of Two Cities, and it helped me understand the story more. And because the thing is that when I went to read this book, because it was kind of like when I bought it, it was just sat there and I just couldn't move away from the shelf. I just kept staring at it. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, just buy it if you're staring at it that much. And of course, it was on my bucket list poster, which I wanted to go through for the books in my book collection already by the end of this year. And so it was like, well, I'm going to read it. And so when I went into reading this book, in a way, it was kind of like a blank canvas. Even though I know the story because I went to see the theatre show, that was well over a year ago. I remember big things, like obviously the big opening, the massive ending, but I didn't remember little things. So in a way, I was a blank canvas. So, the book was blank canvas for me. So I picked up this book. I was just like, okay, let's see how we go. And my God, I am such an idiot for not having picked it up sooner. Real idiot. I think I'm going to have to explore Dickens' other books. Like I said, those ones I'd shoved in a category going, I have no interest in these stories, and pull them out because I'm like, where did that come from? Now, with this book, it's basically about when it begins, we meet a man who's been released from prison. He's been in prison in France for 18 years. And he has a daughter who is in England called Lucy, who always thought that he was dead. And it's about him being released and being reunited with her. And a couple of men who get caught up in his case and everything, and well, what is you know is stated more than once throughout the course of this book is how much these two men look alike. They're completely separate characters, Sydney and Danny, but they look exactly alike. and these two men fall in love with Lucy, and it's all about these two men, their parallels, how they cross paths, how the people around them are caught up with both their narratives, and the ending is one of the and the beginning, should I say, the probably the most well-known lines in literature history. And so I was just a bit taken aback by, first of all, Charles Dickens broke his own rules. He did work kind of with formulas in which, you always have this comical character. You always have these kind of situations. You always have these kind of levels of society crossing paths and everything. And yes, you have multiple levels of societies crossing paths in this book as well. But there is no comedy in this book whatsoever. He goes really dark with this book. It feels like he has completely taken what he usually does, strips it back, has gone, I am not writing this for the masses, I am writing this for me. These are words that I want to say. These are the things that I want to write, and I am going to write them. I don't care what people say. And it's just extraordinary. Previously, my sister and I have talked about Charles Dickens' writing and how he writes these amazingly strong women, but then they very much have the role of mother or servant, or they're alcoholics, or they're mad, or that kind of thing. He makes such strong female characters, but he doesn't give them the roles that you would want for them necessarily. They kind of sometimes they just sit and wait, or they're just very pretty, and that's all that they are. Pretty and sweet and young and 17 and slender and all this lot. He doesn't give them action, whereas this book, he gives so much action to these women. I'm like, yes, fine. Has feminist Charlie just suddenly stepped into the forefront here? It was, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I especially loved the nurse in this book, and something that happens near the end of the book that she's absolutely astonishing, and I love her for it. And it's that thing of the women are a lot smarter than the men in this book, and the fact, I'm not gonna say, because this is gonna sound cryptic, but it has to be in order for me to say what I need to say and not reveal spoilers. On the front of this book, as you can see, it's knitting needles and knittings in red and white and everything. I love the colour. Can't say. I think it would be better if this green was a blue as background, because then red, white, blue, England, France, that kind of thing. But that's by the by. But the fact that the technique of using knitting for a certain character in this book as her hobby, and what it represents, a woman's work, what she should be doing versus what the character is actually doing, is amazing. And the fact that what she's doing also with weaving her own plans, weaving lies, weaving destinies at the same time as she's doing this this hobby in the background, which nobody notices, because it's what a woman should be doing, shouldn't it? And I'm like, oh, Charlie, bravo, Charlie. I've spoken about this before, how he has these things that he brings in and uses them so beautifully for representing something else. It can be an object, it can be a task that's going to whatever, but he uses, especially in this book, things which you expect day-to-day objects, like knitting needles, like a barrel, a quill, something like that, to completely change everything in a scene. And I think that's also things that make his words so powerful in this. I want to read a bit. It's right near the beginning of the novel, but it just lets you know this is the first kind of encounter on the streets of France, and focuses on, well, it's the beginning of a chapter called The Wine Shop. The wine shop becomes quite a prominent location in the France setting for Monsieur and Madame Defarge. They're the owners of the wine shop. And this is just to let you know kind of what the streets of France are like at that time. So, a large cask of wine had been dropped and broken in the street. The accident had happened in getting it out of the cart. The cask had tumbled out with a run. The hoops had burst, and it lay on the stones just outside the door of the wine shop, shattered like a walnut shell. All the people within reach had suspended their business, or their idleness, to run to the spot and drink the wine. The rough, irregular stones of the street, pointing every way, and designed, one might have thought, expressly to lame all living creatures that approached them, had dammed it into little pools. These were surrounded, each by its own jostling group or crowd, according to its size. Some men knelt down and made scoops with their two hands joined, and sipped or tried to help women who were bent over their shoulder to sip before the wine had all run out between their fingers. Others, men and women, dipped in the puddles with little mugs of mutilated earthenware, or even with handkerchiefs from women's heads, which were squeezed dry into the infants' mouths. Others made small mud embankments to stem the wine as it ran. Others, directed by lookers-on up at high windows, darted here and there to cut off the little streams of wine that started away in new directions. Others devoted themselves to the sodden and lee-dry pieces of the cask, licking and even champing the moisture wine-rotted fragments with eager relish. There was no drainage to carry off the wine, and not only did it all get taken up, but so much mud got taken up along with it that there might have been a scavenger in the street, if nobody acquainted with it could have believed in such a miraculous presence. So as you can see, he's using this really poetic language to show the way the French people are dealing at the moment with any kind of wine, anything at all. This is at time the build up to the French Revolution, which is why it's a tale of two cities. Parts of it is in France, part of it is in London. It's Paris, so say in London. And what I absolutely love with Charles, what he has done, he has told the story of people in France from all different levels, and he has respected every single level. Because let's face it, he was a British writer. He could have written a story that made all the French people absolute idiots. He not given them much time of day. But he goes, no, this is set in two cities. Half of it is going to be when I'm going to be writing in France. Half of it is going to be writing events in England, and I'm going to tell the truth about these situations. This is what I want to write. This is how I'm going to depict it. And you're just going to have to deal with it. And I love him for that. Absolutely love him. His writing of the takeover of the Bastille was extraordinary to read. And it feels like, because he has ripped away every kind of usual convention that he does, he's ripped away the comedy, he has ripped away all of the facades of life, of how we feel, or how we look back at this and said, this is reality, this is raw. It put a new level of reality for me on his world, on his writing, and I was really taken aback by it, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it for what he did there. His characters are also strong. big shout out to the character of Sydney. I love Sydney. I loved the fact that previously in other books, because of the situation that with Lucy, other characters who have had kind of the rejection, as it were, that Sydney has had, or has in this book, they either wilt away or they become the comic character in the background, and they never find anyone all this lot. Charles breaks his convention again. He goes, right, I'm going to have him have action. I'm going to give him an ending which is both tragic and beautiful. And I love the ending with the seamstress. That moment with the seamstress is absolutely beautiful, and to end it the way that he did is so powerful. I think that's why the last verse is so well known. The last paragraph, sorry, is so well known because of what it means. And I just literally, I sat here, I finished it this morning, and I had to take a few minutes just to think about what I just read, and it's extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. Saying that, it's not my favourite Dickens. I'm not going to lie, because there are Dickens novels I have lived with. I have had in my heart for decades. So this new one can't just kick them out, as it were. Well, this new one that's in my stratosphere, as it were, can't just kick them out. So it's not one of my favourites, but it's pretty high. It's put Charles Dickens in a new light for me, a new perspective, and I would definitely want to read it again, because I want to, knowing the power, knowing the punch now, I want to read it again and have it from the perspective of having gone through it. I want to read it like how I'd like to reread Irvine Welsh's work, because when you're going through it, it's like, oh my god, this is absolutely astonishing. Like, but whoa, that's wow, really quite hard to read at times. I would love to go back, and I think that's how I feel about A Tale of Two Cities. Would I read it again? Yes. Would I recommend it? Yes. But I will say, don't expect any light in this book, but expect or look forward to one of the most extraordinary endings of a book that I've ever read. Thank you, Charles, for writing it, and I apologise for having shoved it in a corner in my head along with some other books of yours, like Dombey and Son and Pickwick Papers, and even Martin Chuzzlewit. You know how about a couple of years ago now, I got the DVD box set of what I'm about to show you, and I had Martin Chuzzlewit in it. It was a story that I'd never been interested in, the drama I'd never been interested in. I thought, okay, I'll give it an episode. I ended up watching the entire thing in one day because I absolutely loved it, but I still haven't read the book. So maybe I need to pick up some other, books of his that I have shoved into that corner, that in my mind, and give them a chance. I think I might have to do that. But yeah, Tale of Two Cities. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Not my favourite Charles Dickens, but it is a good one. So when it comes to adaptations, I do have a radio play, which I haven't been able to re-listen, and the only kind of version I have adaptation-wise is in this Charles Dickens set. It's a BBC drama from the 1980s. Well, it actually is 1980. And it's one of those ones where I'm a little frustrated with it. I do enjoy it. It tells the story pretty well. But at the same time, for all the good acting and everything that's in it, it suffers terribly from the issue with dramas of that time. It's terrible camera work, terrible lighting, that kind of thing. It kind of feels like, oh, if only that bit was cleaned up, it would be really great for this moment, but it just kind of is not good. But you know, that is what it is. If they were to do an updated version, like I am so excited that tonight, I think it's tonight. Yes, it's tonight. The new version of A Christmas Carol starts. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm so looking forward to it. It kind of makes me think of is the version that I think Dickens was trying to tell, but every version has like sugar covered it. It looks really dark and sinister. It's done by the people who do Peaky Blinders and that. If they were to do an adaptation of A Tale of Two Cities, I think because of that dark and the rawness and the way that they've shot for Christmas Carol, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But I'll have to wait for that. I think it'd be very interesting also doing it kind of now, especially with the politics the way that they are and everything and what is going on around the world. I think bringing up this story would be interesting one for like BBC to do and such. I really do, because it has something to say about political powers and levels of society and poverty and love and life and hope and joy and every grey area in between. It has the ending is a high amongst utter lows and despair and horror, and it's kind of the ending. I felt uplifted with it. I can't convey in words what I'm trying to say, because in order to say it I have to tell you the ending, and I don't want to tell you the ending. But it covers so many things, and I think BBC, if you could make a version of it with the guys who were doing Christmas Carol, I would be very happy with that. Please do it, please. I think they'd be able to do it really well. I really do. But anyway, I'm going to stop now. So, I hope you enjoy that. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments box below, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. I'll let you decide. And as you know, my next book I'm going to be reading is The Help. I think that probably is going to be my last book of the year. I thought I might be able to squeeze in another, but it's actually not that long until the end of the year now. So I think that's probably going to be the last, and then it'll be my review of the year and the announcement of what is happening next year, which I hope you'll look forward to. So as I said, most likely I'm not going to be doing a video now before Christmas Day. So everybody who is watching this, all my subscribers, everyone, have a fabulous Christmas, and I will be back with my thoughts of The Help once I'm done. Alright guys, bye!